I'm not sure we've ever brought software in before that we were like, well, this might get out and wreak havoc. But welcome into the kingdom. All right, it is Newsday, and we are strewn around the country. Although Drex, you're back. You're back from the Backstreet Boys concert. We want to hear about that. Sarah Richardson, you're in Nashville tonight, and I am in Florida. My next trip is to UGM. So, but when they hear this, UGM will be going on. This will be aired on that Monday. So, let's get some quick updates. Drex. Black Hat. How was Black Hat?
It was, it was good. I only went in for one, actually 2 days, but just a quick trip. One night I went to the world premiere of Midnight at the War Room. Movie is produced by a company called Semperis. Great movie. Amazingly enough, sat right in the middle of 4 or 5 of my friends, all who wound up being in the movie. They had parts in the movie. It's a documentary. They just talk about everything from, water systems being hacked, hospitals being hacked, the process that goes on in the background when these bad things happen, national sort of figures, local figures. It was great. Really amazing. Hour and a half. Totally, everybody should see it. I don't know what the plan is for distribution. I know they're even talking about doing a series. So really super excited. And that was
is really this the kind of movie I'm going to want to take my wife to?
She'd probably love it, actually. It'd be really interesting, I think, for
I think you need to spend more time with my wife if you think she would love it.
She's a documentary person.
Yeah, but not on cybersecurity. I think she would shoot space out. Although we did see the Odyssey, which was interesting. The two of us went. Her pick. So
I haven't seen that. How was it?
You know what? Here's what I tell people. If you read the book and you are a fan of the book, you're not going to like it because it's not as true to whatever. But if you're like me and you didn't read the book because you're a slacker in high school, then it was really good. It was a very entertaining movie. So it's one of those, like, I'm not a purist when it comes to has to follow the book, perfectly. So I thought it was really entertaining.
The other, speaking of entertainment, I went to the Backstreet Boys concert at the Sphere. Elicity had 2 suites. A ton of cybersecurity folks were in those suites during Black Hat, and it was great fun. I'm not really a huge Backstreet Boy fan, but man, I was kind of blown away by how many of the songs I actually just knew through osmosis. It was a lot of fun.
And Sarah, you've been all over. So you're Charlottesville, and then you took a train down to Nashville.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
No, I didn't take a train. I drove a rental car.
Oh, you drove a rental car. You had visiting friends. Tell me about Charlottesville. I mean, what were the topics there?
Yeah, Charlottesville was absolutely incredible. So the first piece I loved, and I got to fly into Richmond Monday, stayed with a friend. Which is great. It's one of my girlfriends I've known for a few years. We'd never met in person. So we got to do that, which was awesome. Which, our universe today, we meet so many people. When you get to meet them in person, you're like, yes, I definitely want to hang out. Then we did the dinner in Charlottesville, it was Jairus and I. And I'll start at the end. Dave Matthews lives there, and he was at the bar as we were walking out. So we didn't geek out and try to get an autograph, but it was still kind of a good check mark on a night that everybody showed up. Partners were super involved, and partners we knew and always enjoy spending time with. And then it's the conversation off the charts good. I mean, you literally had, Brett McMillan, you had Andy Markowski and Shannon Becker and so many others who just helped us fill a room. Barbara Ballard, like, great conversation, great perspectives, everything from interoperability still being a thing and the ability to do appropriate integrations to how well are our pilots proving out in some of the AI spaces? And what are we doing that's not even inclusive of AI? What are the things that are still keeping people awake at night, or things that people are focusing on or thinking about? Tons of energy around the protection, the cyber side of the governance and understanding of AI. So we used to talk about AI governance in terms of, like, what are we deploying? Now it's, okay, what cats are in the bag? How do we keep them from getting out of there? And what are the resilience mechanisms we have from a continuity perspective? If you don't even know what happens inside of that black box, how the heck are you supposed to have a downtime procedure for it?
Good point. Yeah, on that same night that you were there, I was in beautiful
Raleigh.
Raleigh, Durham,
Yeah.
North Carolina, and you know what? Really good. We had some interesting conversations, probably along the same lines you did. I would say, we did talk cyber and resilience. We spent a lot of time talking about AI, for sure. ROI models around AI, governance around AI, prioritization, capacity, those kinds of things. Application rationalization came up a couple of times. It's amazing how hard application rationalization is. It's hard.
It's hard to me to believe we keep talking about it. I mean, we're talking about not that it's a thing that you got to keep doing all the time, but
Yes.
like people just feel like it's so hard politically.
Nobody is better at it than Pete Marks at WakeMed. I mean, he's vigilant. He is determined. He has a narrative around it. It makes
Got a
perfect
business
sense.
plan. Yeah.
And in his words, he goes, "We fought hard to reduce 20 applications. And you know what we did last year? We increased." It's like, it just
Overall, they went up.
Yeah, because they just keep coming. It's like, how do we stop this? It's like, it's just really, it takes vigilance. And there's a part of the conversation that we're just not getting through yet. And I think it's the A word. It's architecture. It's like, look, every time you add an application, it increases complexity, increases costs, increases support and staff, and it increases all those things. And you can make an individual case, and this is what happens in healthcare. You make an individual case on this single app. It's like, look, it helps radiology by this and scheduling by this, and it's going to save us this much money. And it's great. In and of itself, if you treat each one of those cases individually, you go, yes, all right, that's good for the health system. But when you layer like 1,000 of those on top of it, and it's, then all of a sudden it's like, well, why do we need so many IT people? Why do we need such a budget? Why do we need to support all these things? It's like, well, because one doesn't increase the number of people, but 1,000 increases it by, 100x the number of people it requires to support. That support conversation continues to come up. I have a feeling when this airs, I will be sitting in the CIO forum at Epic. I have a feeling that will be a significant part of the conversation is how do we reduce the cost of staff and support of these EHR systems. They're big. They require a lot of people. Nobody's arguing that, but the number of people cannot go up. It has to go down. It's a pretty hefty lift. And so anyway, those were some of the conversations. Sarah, I want to get to your topic, but first, Drex, I want to talk to you about this. It seems like every frontier model in the last 3 weeks has shared that their model got out of the lab. And I wonder how much of a concern is this for health systems? Is it a concern? I mean, it's almost like a rite of passage. It's like, hey, our model's so good, we can't contain it. I'm like, hey, that's not good. Like,
I know it is one of those things. Like, is it a downside? Is it some weird attempt at like a marketing sales pitch? It's so good, it keeps getting out of the sandbox. I mean, for health systems, I think just for everyone in general, as everyone knows, I'm a little paranoid about a lot of these things. And so when I look at it, I think about like the good old bad old days of WannaCry, right? The Russians were attacking the Ukrainians and they put a virus in the banking system, I think, to try to take down the banking system. Turns out the Ukrainian systems were connected to the rest of the world's systems. And suddenly within 4 or 5 hours, North America was going down. Completely unintended consequences. I think there's this other problem, right, of you're taking these models, especially the open models, and you're running them on your own infrastructure. So some companies just doing this on their own, they're creating a sandbox, they're doing some kind of a test. I worry about that, not just the model getting out and attacking 2 or 3 companies maybe looking for some weird things like, the answers to a test, but actually getting out and doing something bad to the entire internet. And we already know that they're doing things like breaking out multiple agents and then setting up chat rooms and exchanging information between the agents about how to hack and how to social engineer individuals to get them to load malware and all this kind of stuff. So we're there. It's a little scary to me.
Well, this is the part that concerns me. It's like Anthropic saying, we put it in our sandbox, which I assume is a better sandbox than the one I'm going to build. Like, and it got out and it started doing crazy stuff. OpenAI saying the same. They're all saying the same things. Okay,
Chinese models.
I'm bringing some of these things inside. It's the Trojan horse. Speaking of the Odyssey, it's like we're bringing it inside the four walls.
Yeah.
And if I can't contain it, if I can't control it, I'm not sure we've ever brought software in before that we were like, well, this might get out and wreak havoc. But welcome into the kingdom.
It's a whole new world, and it just keeps getting weirder.
So when we talk about who's responsible when a diagnosis is signed off on by a physician, but it was generated by AI, obviously the doctor's the human in the loop, and that liability still lies with the human being. You build an agent or you create a code and it somehow gets out for reasons, let's just assume good intent, beyond your control. Who then is accountable for that model automating itself out of the instructions that it's been given?
I wrote about this in 2-Minute Drill Extra yesterday on Sunday. And it's just a strange situation that if it was a person, obviously that person probably would be investigated, arrested, probably would be fired from the company, might have to go to trial and, a whole bunch of other things. But, since it's an agent, it seems like the answer is, oh, my goodness, my agent got out of the sandbox. There doesn't seem to be at this point any real impact on the company from which the agents escape. Now, I would say OpenAI is probably paying, there's probably some negative financial impact of this happening to them, and we just don't know what it is because it's not public. But still, yeah. I think that's a question we're going to continue to struggle with, not only for clinical operations or business operations, but just in general. When the model goes wrong, who's responsible for it? Has
not been set yet on any of this stuff, so
it's
going to be crazy.
Yep.
Sarah, your topic for today.
Yeah. So heading into a big conference around a major EHR is a couple things that. The integration perspective, like integrating some of these AI opportunities, is almost like a new technical debt crisis. It's one of the things that the CIOs and others have been sharing. It's, is this the CIO, the CMIO, the chief AI officer, clinical operations, who owns this governance model and if it's shared? But truly the integration ability and trusting the EHR to be able to do the right thing with some of these integrations outside of their walls becomes a much tougher conversation. So as we think about healthcare leaders being rewarded for launching the AI pilots, maybe it's the ones that produce the sustained measurable outcomes at scale, knowing what to retire early when they do. That's always a big conversation in our events. But really the technology problem starts becoming a bit of leadership and a bit of the infrastructure, because it is hard to integrate some of these models. And also it's harder to pull them back out, even once you've had a pilot that goes into play. But launching a pilot is not success. It's the scalability. And is it replacing one or two other things because you've already optimized other solutions that you have in-house? Like the minutia of doing this really, really well is almost an untenable scale in and of itself because of the number of things that are out there. And if you ask someone today, how many agents do you have deployed in your organization? They might tell you 50, and audit turns up 76. And what are they all doing? But the ability to integrate effectively and still be able to scale it in a way that's meaningful to the organization while controlling some of those costs and expecting the right outcomes, that still to me is really, hey, AI works. We know it works. We use it a little bit of everywhere, but our ability to operate it effectively inside a healthcare system has not yet caught up.
This is the question I've been asking. I asked this last week in Raleigh. I'm like, all right, so talk to me about trust, right? So a majority of AI is going to come into healthcare through our existing partners. It's going to come in through through Workday, through ServiceNow, through our EHR partner, through potentially our imaging partner, through fill in the blank. That's how a majority of it is going to come in. And my question then was sort of like, okay, so if it comes in from Workday versus Epic, do you trust it more? Or do you trust it more if it comes in the other direction? What kind of testing are you putting around it? Do you have the tools? Do you have the skills to put it through the testing? Do you understand the decay that happens around it? Do you understand the harness that happens? Do you understand? And which got us to another question, which was, okay, and that in of itself is an interesting conversation that we had.
Mhm.
But then I took it to, all right, how much knowledge do you need to have? And this is it was predominantly CIOs. I think it's six of the 15 people there were CIOs, two CTOs, a couple CISOs and whatnot. But my question was, how much AI knowledge do you need to have? Because part of me is like, all right, so you set up this governance group. Who does the technical certification that this tool is what it says it is and does what it says it will do? Now I understand clinical goes to clinical, and compliance has its role, and security has its role, and whatnot. But in terms of it actually doing what it says it's going to do, and you being able to protect the organization from those things, how much knowledge do you need to have? And that was an interesting conversation. Everybody feels like there are 5, by the way, and that's the answer you get.
Note about that.
Yeah, on a scale of 0 to 10, that's what you say when it's like, hey, I'm not a neophyte. I know some stuff, but you want to communicate. Some stuff, but you want to communicate. Oh my gosh, I know I don't know an awful lot, so I'm a 5. Now again,
which is the kind of the cop out is what you were saying.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
If we were running the 229 health system, the one that we use as our case study for our HCSP program, I mean, granted, if it was the 3 of us, we probably wouldn't need to hire somebody for AI because we're pretty deep. However, at what point do you know that you need to either contract or hire the type of education or expertise so that you feel comfortable with exactly what you just shared? Like, what would be the catalyst for you to do that?
Or is the responsibility the partners, and you're trusting that the partner is going to have done the privacy and transparency and accountability and resilience and trustworthiness that the model works the way it's supposed to? Do you leave that to the partner? Is that what I'm buying when I buy these?
Yeah. Well, let me give you my example, which has nothing to do with AI. So I'm doing work on my house, and I'm getting electric into this addition that we're putting on, and the guy comes out and says, "Hey, you need a 300 amp service pulled to your house." Okay, I don't know electricity, but I do know it has absolutely nothing to do with square footage. He's like, "You have this much square footage, you need 300 amps." I'm like, last I checked, square footage doesn't use any amperage. Like it uses 0 amperage. This is a math problem, people. I mean, it's like
some kind of a regulation probably that says that if you have this much space,
I have a charger in my garage. I have 2 dryers. It's a math problem. And the guy's like, no, a house this big needs this much. I'm like, no. And I'm like, I'm not working with this guy. And I, got him out of the house because I'm like, it's a math problem. It's how many things that use electricity will be used potentially at the same time. That's what it is. I had the same thing with IT people when I came out of St. Joe's. They were like, "Oh, you can't do imaging across the way, and it has to all to be local." And I'm like, "Well, how much bandwidth does it use, and how much?" And they're like, "Well, it doesn't matter; it just can't be done." I'm like, "It's a math problem, people. Stop it! Like it's a math problem. How much are you trying to shove across that pipe at what distance and its latency? And you measure it, and you come back and you answer the question. You know what happened was when we were done, we're like, oh, we can do this remotely. And we moved it to the cloud and we moved it out. And it was one of the first organizations that moved to the cloud for imaging. And it's like, it's a math problem. Like, why do we do this anecdotal stuff all the time? But I say this story this time to say, I think CIOs need to have enough knowledge to ask really good questions and to know if the answers are the right answers. And if you don't have at least that skill in your bag, then I have a great team. Great. Are they going to follow you around in every meeting and ask the right questions? Are they going to go to the executive meetings with you and ask the right questions? You need to spend time with them so that at least their understanding or their questions that they would ask come out of your mouth, and you can vet that. That's my take. But I'm curious what you guys think. I mean, is that too far? Because I definitely lean on you need to be more technical in the CIO role than most. And people have argued with me. People I respect have argued with me on this point.
That's always been the great CIO role, right? The role of translator, translating business needs and clinical needs into technical information that your team can act on, and taking technical information and being able to listen to those business and clinical operations stories, knowing enough to be able to ask the right questions so that you can affect that translation well. And when you can't do that, I'm not totally exactly sure what the job amounts to, because for me, that was always like a core critical component of success, was being able to do that translation. You also remind me of, like, I feel like there's a Chevy Chase movie somewhere or something where the electrician or the next door neighbor comes over and asks him, like, you're running 110 into here? And he's like, yeah, 110, 111, whatever it takes.
No, it's Mr. Mom.
What is it? Oh, okay.
Mr. Mom. Oh my God.
Mr. Mom.
And Schooner Tuna. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Totally remember that. I just forget what the actual
220, 221, whatever it takes.
That's it.
Oh my goodness. The whole thing about being a translator, being a mathematician, and all the ability, like, think about when cyber started becoming a big deal. I remember 20 plus years ago being the person who explained why everybody cared about cyber, and smart enough to be able to, how did you vet new solutions coming in with a cyber lens when you didn't have a security team or a security checklist in some cases at that point. We're at that same inflection with AI. And so you got to educate everybody enough, and you need to find a couple ninjas who really live and breathe it, so that the smart questions are being not just asked, but someone needs to know what to do with the answers that are coming forward. And you can't just rely on your partners, because all of a sudden you have partner soup, and unless they're all figuring things out together, you're still left with all of those solutions in one place. And the complexity of their interoperability and integration is a little bit nuts. That's the part where I was so happy to hear Shannon Becker talk about this in Charlottesville. She has an architect for every domain now in the application universe, as they think about how they're optimized, utilized, rationalized, you name it. But literally was so proud, and a couple of others, to say, yes, we have an enterprise architect that is the starting point. And you love hearing that. And then that enterprise architect clearly having the AI chops that are available. But it's what we've all said for years. Where's your enterprise architect in this conversation? And if you don't have one at this point, you got a whole bunch of other pieces that are being missed, separate from whether or not AI gets plugged in somewhere.
Yeah, and this is what I appreciate about the two of you, and why I like having these conversations, is we're all learning. Look, we all started like 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, we knew of AI, but we all really started. We all sort of had this gun that went off about 3 years ago with the ChatGPT moment, where it's like, we've got to learn this. And you guys, much like myself, just dug in and said, all right, let's learn this. And we're all actually learning different, and it's actually kind of interesting because we're all learning different aspects of it. I'm deep into the programming. Drex, you're into the cybersecurity. Sarah, you went full-fledged on, what's it going to take to be a leader in the AI era, and went and got training and education from MIT. Yeah, we can't call you an MIT grad yet, though. We can say you passed that course. But I mean, that's what it takes.
I think we call her an MIT grad.
Let's be honest. I'm a UNLV girl, so take that.
She's certified.
She's certified. Certified.
Certifiable or certified.
Got all those things. Well, hey, these are exciting times. By this time next week when we record, we actually will not be recording on Monday because we're going to be busy. But when we record, maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, we'll have sat through the Epic announcements, and there'll be a lot to digest. And that's probably where we will spend. We'll spend next week. Plus, we'll be doing a survey of people who have sat in the room. 229 members will be giving us their feedback from their perspective. And I'm looking forward to that, because I think you're going to have perspective that is from large systems and academics, and you're going to have perspectives from rural healthcare and critical access hospitals. And I think sometimes their perspectives are a little different.
I think that's good. This might be one of my favorite things we've ever done, because it's really going to be fresh right out of the gate. You just went through the presentations. You just went through the briefings. What are you thinking? What's next? like you're going to really get some interesting insights. So if you're going to Epic and you get an invitation to the survey, take it, because you're going to be able to see the feedback from everybody else too.
And if you have a place to stay on Tuesday night, we have people who still need rooms. It's brutal. It's brutal to get a hotel room up there. Anyway, hey, great seeing you guys. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.